And I think that this town has given so much, and like I have no plans to leave, and I really want to invest in this community and build my business here. And so similar to you, like I want this to be a good, thriving place to live. And I also I know that a lot of people are one connection away from something amazing happening for them and for their business. I've seen that happen. And I think community is the way that happens. And so I'm just passionate about connections. And so I think what I would say is go first. People expect connections to be made for them. There's not a lot of people willing to go first, think through their network, think through who people need to know, and not just wait for someone to ask you.
Welcome to the How to Buy or Sell a Business Successfully podcast. The concepts discussed in this podcast are for informational purposes only. No attorney-client relationship is intended or formed by this podcast. No legal advice is intended in the substance of this podcast. Feel free to check out our website, www.goforemanlaw.com. Enjoy the show and welcome your hosts, Jake Wayman and Sam Foreman. Welcome to another episode of How to Buy and Sell a Business Successfully. I'm Sam Foreman, founder of Foreman Law, co-host of this podcast. One of the great things that's going on in my life right now is watching Marvel movies at home. Recently, we were watching one and realized that our two children vaguely resemble Thor and Loki sometimes for a variety of reasons. It's the beard, honestly. Our 8-year-old has a full beard. No, it's their personality and how they interact with each other. It's very entertaining. Fortunately, no one has started growing devil horns, at least not that we can see. They just act like it. Just kidding. My children are angels. And so let me pass it to my great co-host here, Jacob Wayman.
Thanks, Sam. I always have to think how do I top Sam's what's going best in his life? Because your kids are very entertaining. It's
not a competition.
I want to just be a fly on the wall in your house and just be because your kids sound like a lot of fun.
There would be a lot of flies on our walls because anyway, there's nothing appropriate to say at this point.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay, let's keep going. All right. Anyways, my name's Jake Wayman, and my wife and I are the proud owners of the Orange Theory Fitness franchises here in Wichita. Also work as a investment banker with Infinity Capital Partners out of Oklahoma City, helping them drive some new market development here in the Wichita market. Also do a little bit of work with my family's company, Citywide Facility Solutions. So I've said this in the past, I wear a lot of hats and I love every one of them. It's the way that I roll and it's a lot of fun doing it. Best thing in my life right now is my kids would get on these roles of what movie are we going to watch? And we watch that movie all the time. Secret Life of Pets is the one right now. And I love it.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie. And it's so much fun. And I'm it's a lot of fun. So Secret Life of Pets is where we're at right now.
The hamster's my favorite.
It'll probably change. I like the rabbit.
The rabbit. Kevin Hart. Yeah,
Kevin Hart. So it'll probably change this weekend. But hey, right now we're on Secret Life of Pets, and it's a lot of fun. So it's my son loves family movie night, and so family movie night. The reason why he loves it consists of popcorn with M&Ms in it, which all the M&Ms get eaten before the popcorn, as always.
Naturally.
But yeah. Anyways, it's a lot of fun. Love my kids. And today we're joined with our
co-conspirator.
Co-conspirator,
that's the correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of
our
ICT
community
Dealmakers.
Co-conspirator. Yeah.
Yeah. ICT Dealmakers, Alyssa McGinn. And we've done a lot of cool things at ICT Dealmakers. But I'll let Alyssa introduce herself. She's been on our podcast before, so make sure you go back to listen to episode, I don't know what number, but she is on one of them.
Listen to all of the episodes, I think is what Jacob meant to say.
But Alyssa,
and then keep listening to all of the current ones as well. Yeah.
Alyssa, I'll let you introduce yourself, and then we'll jump into some Dealmaker stuff.
Okay. Thanks for having me a second time. I feel like that's always the ultimate sign of you did something right. It's if you get to come back.
I think you're the first person to get on for a second recording.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even though it's a totally different topic, but I'll take it nonetheless.
Yeah.
I'm Alyssa McGinn. I am a second-generation family business owner of a business called InfoFluency. We also serve the M&A space in post-acquisition data solutions, so helping companies kind of sort through their data and make it usable and effective for strategic decision-making. And I'll leave it at that unless we want to get into Dealmakers. Oh, I have to do my most exciting thing.
Yes. What's the
Yeah,
best
which
thing
one
in
of
your
the-
life?
I
Best
also
things-
have kids, so I have to like compete in this thing. So I'm like loving this season because my oldest is going to be starting kindergarten in August. And he is like kid after my own heart. Like loves school, loves sitting and like learning and reading and coloring and cutting things. And I'm really enjoying watching him like kind of come into the firstborn natural tendencies. And he just every day is like, Mom, when do I get to go to kindergarten? Like, when do I get to go to kindergarten? I want to go to my school. Like, I'm so tired of preschool. All we do is like play and stuff. And so
I'll trade him.
that was me as a kid too. Like I was the one that like, just the overachiever firstborn.
That's
So
so
I'm just
great.
loving that reproducing.
Yeah. Have you gotten that? Gotten him his first data analytics app yet?
Not yet.
An Abacus, maybe.
He knows how to code in Python. He's on his way to
That's really
taking
impressive.
over the business.
I don't feel like an inferior parent at all.
I was the baby of the family, so I was a lost cause.
My child has a stuffed snake at home. Your child codes in Python. I feel like we're equals.
Similar. Yeah.
Does he really code in Python? Moving on.
The kids now, like they could do a lot of that stuff, but okay.
Yeah, Alyssa, would you tell us because Jacob and I have forgotten? Would you tell our listeners and viewers? Shout out to the viewers. A little bit about ICT Dealmakers and its origin story, and more importantly, its magnificent destiny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the origin story was Sam and I had coffee for the first time probably 2.5 years ago now, something like that.
We'd have to go back and look at LinkedIn messages, but that sounds about right.
Yeah, so we're sitting in, shout out to
Reverie?
Reverie.
Yeah.
Yes. We were sitting in Reverie.
The OG.
And
Yeah.
that was kind of the first time we really like got to know each other, connected. And he, as we were leaving, he was like, hey, if you ever want to like, get together people kind of in the M&A space, we could use my office for that. And I was like, cool. Store that thought in the back of my head. And then like a month later, I emailed him and was like, hey, we should do that. We should get some people together. And so we just put a date on the calendar, and probably like 30 people came to that first one?
I think so. Yeah, it was
Something
at
like
least
that.
30.
At least 30, yeah.
It was August 9th of 2024. I remember
You're looking
because
at your
I
calendar.
just looked at it in
That was the
LinkedIn.
date of our
Yeah.
first coffee meeting?
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
So then I think that the first time I remember being like that fall.
Mhm.
We got everyone together.
Yep.
So that was the origin, was some people drinking Sam's Club, drinks in Sam's office. And we talked about like, what does the M&A community want and need? And it was, I feel like I knew in that meeting, like there's something here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think there was clearly energy there. And I think, Jacob, you were there as well, weren't
Yeah,
you?
and I came, and
Yeah.
afterwards I was like, I can help. Like, let's do something. Like, there's
Yeah.
something here. We need to get some stuff going. And
Typical Jake Wayman energy.
Yeah.
Let's do something. Let's
do
make this
something.
something.
yeah. But
Yeah.
again, it's like there's a need that you guys saw, because again, when I talk about the Wichita M&A network here in town, it's like an aquifer. You have to know where to tap it.
Yep.
And I hate that because we have a great network in town, but it's like you have to know somebody to get into it, and that's not how you have a healthy M&A community.
Right.
There needs to be more education, more awareness, because
Right.
a lot of people want to be in the space, whether you're a company wanting to acquire, or you're wanting to sell, or you're a searcher wanting to find that first
Right.
company, or whatever, or even if you're a PE firm that's wanting to get involved in the Wichita market. There's a lot of different ways, and having a place as an entry level point for that. And I remember, because I think we all went to the ACG Capital Connections meeting in Kansas City that they had downtown. And we had talked about this group about evolving it. And it was like, I think it was like after that, we're like, we need to create our own ACG in Wichita, because then we had
Right.
that meeting with some of the people from ACG, and we found out like Wichita's probably not a market they're going to start one. And we're like, well, let's do our own thing and
Right.
create that.
Yeah.
And it evolved, it's been evolving. It still is evolving because it was just what the Wichita M&A happy hour is what it was called.
Yeah, we just called it a happy hour.
Yeah, with super unique branding.
Yeah.
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 But I mean, all of 2025, for people who don't know, we hosted like quarterly, I mean, they were happy hours, quarterly happy hours. We had different sponsors around town who were involved in the M&A space. And so we had a rotating location, and then we started doing some content the last half of the year. And I mean, the destiny is, I think there's tons of opportunity that we haven't even tapped yet.
Right.
And there's tons of potential. And I think the aquifer that you talked about makes Wichita be it becomes like a closed community. Like people that may want to do deals or do stuff in Wichita, they just will eventually be like, it's too hard.
Yeah, it's too hard.
Like I don't want to know how to, I don't know how to do this. And so the more that we bring those people together, the more there's an entry point, the more Wichita could be a go-to place that people want to travel to visit, to do deals in. And I think that's what we all want. And ultimately, like that's good for our community. That's good for business owners here, and just for the economy.
Yeah.
And
well, it opens eyes to business owners that, want to scale because they sometimes what I found very interesting in my work with Infinity is down in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, a lot of similar companies to what we have in Wichita, but they're much larger than the companies that are in Wichita. Just from a revenue standpoint, marginal standpoint, and everything too. And it's like, and I look at that, I'm like, man, like Wichita can be that. We can build big, strong companies. We have great companies here, but it's like a lot of them haven't expanded beyond the Wichita borders. And I think that's where you need to open their eyes to opportunities that, hey, if I want to grow and expand, I can be here in Wichita and can expand my business with my headquarters being right here in Wichita and doing business elsewhere too. And I think that's where it's just opened eyes to when people think M&A, they think, oh, I need to, be a Coke Industries buying and selling companies. Like, no, that happens at every single level from, small businesses to, the large corporations and everything in between.
But I do think also there has been a shift in that becoming more widely understood and known in the past, maybe 5 years or so, where it's no longer, I mean, it did used to be large private equity, large corporate, and like that was kind of it.
Yeah.
And now there's people all over the internet talking about, whether good or, not correct things, buying and selling companies and people making that accessible for people. And so I see the need even growing further as more and more people want to get into the space.
Yeah, I think there's definitely been an uptick in information in the small business, lower middle market space. And I think that's really good. I want to come back to this idea of community building. I like the analogy used, Jacob, of it's kind of like an aquifer, Wichita, historically. And I think a lot of communities, wherever our listeners are at, if they don't have a really well-developed M&A community, which most communities don't, outside of large metro areas, is thinking about it like a network. I like thinking about it like a network as well. And what you have is it's not like somebody designed it to function like an aquifer, for example, or designed it to be sort of these closed circles. It's just that's sort of like, how it naturally developed based on the relationships that were there and the actors that were involved. And it sort of adapted to meet the needs and the interests of the people who were participating in it. And now I think we're entering a time where there's more people that are more interested in participating in it, who are willing to bring more to the table as a result. And so there's this potential for all of this additional activity that I think from a community perspective is very beneficial. But one of the key limitations is it's very much like a network, right? You have a certain number of connection points, you have a certain amount of bandwidth between those connection points, and you have a certain rate of expansion of the network. And when your network is static and it has limited nodes and those have limited bandwidth, things don't move very fast, or they only move fast when the gatekeepers of those nodes, the people that control those connections, want them to move fast, as opposed to creating more of a decentralized network. And I think that's where the community building aspect of this can be really powerful, is that there's all of this pent up demand for utilization of the network. There's all of this potential that could be unleashed through this with the right participants. And I think a lot of it is just making those relational connections. It's finding those business owners that have interest in this, helping them get educated so they bring more to the network when they do come.
Yeah.
Because it's not just you show up and it's like, hey, I want to do a deal. It's like, hey, I have something of value to offer to make the network as a whole better, because that just increases, the value of what's going on. But the more connections we have, the more the quality of those connections are, the higher the velocity of things will move, and the higher the value exchanged within that will be. Because some of those things, like you use those other communities where there's those companies that are being built at just different scales. I mean, a lot of that is because they've done a better job leveraging relationships. And we have that same sort of opportunity for those that want it. And some people don't want it, and that's okay. Like, that's fine. We don't have to be the biggest or the best or whatever else. But if these are things that we want, we have an opportunity to be more intentional with them.
Jake and Sam here.
Thank you for joining us. If you find this content helpful, please like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and especially leave us a 5-star review on Spotify or iTunes. Really helps us out a lot.
Yeah, 1 star, it's on Sam.
Yeah, it's definitely on me.
One, we always talk about in our podcast, Sam, about, your deal team. And I think that's where, as we continue to build this community and community building, your deal team incorporates a lot of different people on it, from the attorneys to the accountants to the bankers to advisors, whatever. But if you don't have that community, you're not going to know who do I need to talk to. If I'm going to sell my company or do this or that or the other, having that community to tap into to say, hey, I need this resource. And then I say, hey, Sam, I need this. And you say, hey, I got 4 people you need to talk to or whatever.
Right.
We grow that community so better deals can happen. Because again, we talk about communities thrive when good deals happen. It's that's where, we are trying to create that environment. So there's more players that are in here, more people involved in it. So if you do need a fractional CFO, well, each one of us could probably name 5 or 6 of them right now. If you need a good attorney, you have Sam right here.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
And I will help you find a good attorney.
Yeah. But that's the thing is it's you want to know that when you need a resource, you can tap into this community, ICT Dealmakers, and say, I need this, and everybody's going to go to bat for you. I mean, that's really what I feel like we're creating.
Yeah. And I feel like the way that deal making, no matter what type of deal it is, the way it works is it always has different entry points and different places that it touches, and it always needs different things. It's kind of just this living organism that's different than a lot of other communities or industries, because it really does take a village to get a deal done, right? The deal team, but then there's always lots of other, things that go into getting it done. And so I think that's a huge advantage, because my first premise when we started this was, if the service providers know each other, there may be some competition there, but everyone needs to know other people that they can refer, because that not only helps our community be better, but it helps the deals be better because the quality, like you said, the quality is better. But it also helps okay, from my position, it's we do a lot of work post, kind of from the point of close onward. And so people come to me and I want to be able to have good resources to be able to say well, you're further up than we can help, but let me connect you to this, and this person. And I know they're good because we've been in this community together. They've done these other deals that I've seen. And, to your point, I feel now there's all these entry points versus okay, you got to talk to Sam. He's the gatekeeper. He's the gatekeeper.
Right. I mean, no, you're absolutely right. It's not a healthy thing for a community when there's not, of this size anyway, if there's an underdeveloped network where there's not enough entry points. And I think that your premise is still a really good one, of the service providers being able to connect. Because in many instances, the service providers are, furthering the network analogy. I mean, they're like the connecting points. Because a lot of times buyers and sellers hold things, pretty close to the vest of hey, I don't want people to know I'm selling. I don't want my employees to leave. I don't want my customers. I don't want my competitor to be Bob's getting ready to retire, whatever that is. And so the service providers can help facilitate the connections, but without people compromising their confidentiality. And so it boosts the network in that sense. But I mean, it's a good, healthy thing for there to be lots of high quality participants forming lots of connections. But still this is where the bandwidth part comes in, going deep enough. I think that's in our market been one of the challenges, is that historically we've been overgeneralized from a service provider perspective. and I still see this a lot, in deals we do around the Midwest of, people who are like, hey, I do the will today, and then I do the divorce on Tuesday, and I've got a court hearing then, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do my second M&A deal of the decade, or whatever. And it's like, hey, God bless them. They're doing their best for their clients. They must feel comfortable that they're doing that. And I'm sure they're doing their best and they're going to do the best that they can. But that's just different than it is if you're like, hey, I'm working with, so-and-so, and this is the 25th deal they're working on this year. Mm-hmm. That's just different. It's a different level of expertise and experience, that they're going to have access to more resources.
But don't you think that the lack of community and the lack of, honestly, the lack of community forces some people to be generalized?
I think so. Because it limits the number of repetitions that they're going to get, the number of instances that they're going to see.
I can't build my whole practice on M&A because right. How do I get that much deal flow?
Historically, this is how it works. I've got to do all these things. And I want to be respectful of the fact that historically has been true for a long time. I don't think it's true of our market anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's true of, service provider markets in general in this day and age, but providers, I think, have taken a while to adapt to it. And for some of them, it's the best fit. And it's the best fit for their clients. And I don't want to knock that at all. But it's just there's a different level of opportunity when people are really focused in a particular area. Not that that's the only thing that they do, but really focused because they just bring so much more depth to it. Not just from a knowledge perspective that facilitates decisions, but in this specific context from a connection standpoint. Mm-hmm. Like when you're talking to somebody like, you, Alyssa, or like Jacob, who knows a lot of people in the M&A space, and you go and be like, hey, I'm really looking to sell my business. Who do I help? Who helps me with this? Or who helps me with that? You can think of like 5 quality connections right off the top, or who should I talk to when I want to get in front of this person? That's just different if you're going and you're like, hey, it's a lower quality connection with a lower density here. And this is a person that just naturally isn't going to have the same level of connections. I'm talking too much about this, but I feel very passionately about the importance of deepening our expertise in a particular area, especially one as significant as business transitions, because what it all comes back to, just like you said earlier, Jacob, is that communities thrive when great deals happen, and communities suffer when crappy deals happen.
Well, on that point, though, like you're talking about the service providers that are generalists. The biggest thing that I see is going to be that's going to be hard for us, and how do we get over it, is getting them to understand that they should not be involved in an M&A deal. Right. How do they know to refer it to, if say it's an attorney, for an example, they need to know they need to refer it to Sam. And if it's like an accountant that does bookkeeping,
send me all your referrals.
But I think it goes back to educating even the business owners to know there's other resources out there. Because so many business owners will like have an LOI in hand from some group that's wanting to buy them out of another market, and they're like, and they probably have signed it, or they went to their attorney who is a generalist and not a specialist in the thing. And I just think there's a lot of, that's what I think are really our goal, and what my mission I see for our group is still that education side of it. Is how do we continue to educate more and more people that when you're going through that process, because every entrepreneur is going to go through an exit process at some point in time, whether by them selling or they're going to die. That's a bad way to say it, but you're going to exit.
You go
at some
out on
point
your own
in time.
2 feet, or someone can take you.
Yeah, it's like you're either going to close your doors, you're going to sell it, or something is going to happen. And I think it's so a transaction will occur, and you want to make sure that it is one to where value is, like Sam always talks about, transferred. Like you have built value, something that's a value that can be transferred, but you have to know the resources that are out there, where you're trying to go with it. I just think so many business owners, me being one of them, don't think about the end in mind. Like what's the future look like?
Right.
I also think that even from the first meeting that we talked about in Sam's office with 30 people were starting to talk about like, well, we need to get business owners in the room. Like all, classic service providers, like they all just want to have their direct clients in the room to sell to.
I do.
Right.
But, yeah.
The power of the referral network in the M&A space is really strong and really powerful. And even through all of that, people still, everyone still wants business owners in the room. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to do that.
Right.
I'm just saying there's power in referral partnerships and the network of the service providers that can be built upon. So once that deep expertise is there, once that foundation is built, now we've seen more business owners coming into the room. Like our last one in December, there was business owners in the room. There was different demographic of people than we've seen. Like there's a foundation of, okay, these people, there's a group of people that know what they're doing, that are active in the deal process and in this space. And now, okay, it might be safe. Like there's more to build upon. And on top of that, not just business owners, but then I think innovation can happen too, where it's not just, the attorneys and the accountants, like the core people of a deal team. Now there can be other things that can come into a community like this, like technology and AI and innovation and other things that are happening in the broader M&A space that our market just honestly hasn't quite caught up to because we haven't really laid that foundation. In February, I'm going to an M&A and tech and M&A conference in Silicon Valley. And it's going to be really interesting, and I'll report back. But I think there's a lot. I want to go because I want to see kind of what's happening in the space and on the technology side that like I just can't be brought into a market that's like underdeveloped and not.
Yeah.
Right.
But to that point, that's what I appreciate. Like with Alyssa's not from Wichita. She's here because your spouse is from Wichita.
Yeah, I got married into the Wichita life.
But again, like what you brought into Wichita was a global perspective. You brought something different, and we need more of that. Like, and you going to this conference out in Silicon Valley, you're bringing something back, and you need to share about it, and you will. But like that's where I think so much is like sometimes Wichita we don't do a good job of like, expanding our horizons a lot of times, or we don't want to tell people our not our secrets, but like our not trade secrets, but you know what I mean? It's like we're like we have fear that somebody's going to take something in a way. I don't know if that's really true or not, but I think sometimes we don't look beyond our horizons of what can we learn from these other markets. Like that's what we need to be doing is what can we learn from a healthy M&A market that's somewhere else that we can bring those types of resources here.
Yeah, and it's funny because I grew up in Houston, and so, we still have quite a bit of business and contacts and stuff down there. And they have, like, there's so many, like, M&A organizations to, like, be a part of, like, literally, like, M&A Forum, AMNAA, ACG. Just a lot. And it's, like, it is a very developed, market. But it's not like, Wichita is never going to be Houston, or, like, I just come back and I'm like, okay, there are things that we can do. There are things that we can take from these bigger markets. And I also think that I experienced the gatekeeper, like really firsthand. Like what you're saying about like the aquifer, I was like, I got here, I'm like, everyone says I'm like one person away from knowing anyone in Wichita that I want to know, but how does that work? Who's that one person?
Jacob Wayman.
Yeah.
but and again, I thought like, talking about like Houston's like I don't want to be Houston. I don't want to be Dallas.
No.
But I want to be Wichita, but I want to have facets of it to where like you don't feel like that.
Right.
Like an outsider coming into Wichita that has a good heart that wants to help and be involved doesn't feel like they have to like it's not a struggle to do it. You're welcomed in and everything. And Wichita we are welcoming in a way, but I think it's still like, you almost have to like prove yourself before you're allowed to be like,
I think there's a lot of more room for collaboration.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fair point.
I think in my Wichita experience, and it's not everybody's had an experience like this, but I mean, I felt very welcomed as soon as I got here. And
because you're awesome.
Well, thank you. I don't wear a cape
all of us have
often, but
I just kicked down doors. That's what when I first moved back to Wichita, I was like, I just kicked down doors.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of very welcoming people here, and a lot of people that I think want to see our community grow. And I think for me, a lot of that, it's like it's not you point out, hey, we're not trying to be Houston, we're not trying to be Phoenix, we're not trying to be Dallas, we're not trying to be New York, whatever. And I agree with that. I mean, be yourself. Everybody else is taken, right? But we all, like most of the people I talk to, they want to see growth. And it's not just growth for growth's sake, because bigger's not better, right? Unless the bigger comes along with something else. I think when we think of growth, and I think of like healthy growth, Like it's the growth is important because you're not static. You're either dying, contracting, or you're growing in a healthy way, or you're growing too much. That's what, anyway. But that healthy growth means more opportunities, right? We're all parents. It means more opportunities for our kids. It means more opportunities for our families. It means more opportunities for our neighbors, for our friends. It means, more access to better quality resources here. I mean, we just, for those that are following the local news, at the time of this recording, just saw a local hospital close down, right? In Derby. And it's just, it's really sad to see those kind of things happen. And part of that is, we're just not growing at the pace that we need to in certain ways.
There are other things about that.
The after show. But I mean, that growth is important because of the things that go along with it, not just for growth's sake. And where I feel like M&A and community building fit in with all of this is that there's so much value that's built up over so much time in these businesses, these small businesses, these mid-sized businesses. And when good transitions happen, you not only preserve that value in the community and enhance it in many instances, but you give, two families the opportunity in many instances, because they're, often family-owned businesses, the opportunity to experience that story in a really powerful way. One on the sell side, transforming that family for generations, and on the buy side, getting to repeat the cycle with that in really healthy ways. And when deals don't happen well, like we all know how this works. The business climbs the hill and then it starts to coast down, and eventually there's nothing left to sell. Like they are left with closure if they're lucky, right? And bankruptcy if they're not. And I mean, that's a really sad thing to see. And it's more avoidable than we've made it as a community, I think. And this is not a knock on people who've always been doing their best to make this town a better place. But we are at a different place than we were before.
100%.
And we have different responsibilities as people who care about this town to just do our best to make it better. And then somebody else will come along and take what we've built and they'll make it even better. And so that's just our responsibility, I think, is to take the next step. And I think part of it is, helping build this part of the community, helping enhance it. I do want to give a shout out to all the service providers out there, because I know I have a tendency to be a little bit too hard on people. It's like, you're doing your best, keep after it. Just keep after it. Even if you're a generalist, just keep doing your best, for your clients, and great things will happen. I know we're kind of towards the end of our time here, largely because I just can't help myself. I keep talking and I should just shut up more. But as we kind of wrap up our time here, let's just go through for each one of us. Why do you care so much about this topic and what we're doing here? And what's one really practical way that people listening can get involved and make a difference? And I'll go first because I've been thinking about the question. I mean, I really care about this because I care about this town. I mean, I care about it because my family's here. I care about it because there's so many great people here. I want to see other people have the great experience that I've had with this community, and an even better one. And so I want to see Wichita thrive. I want to see Wichitans win. All the communities that we touch, I want to see that. So that's why I care, because I want my kids to have that experience as well. I think a great way that people can get involved and make a difference is just figure out how to be a productive connection point. Think about the network, right? And maybe it is looking for when somebody needs a connection, when they need a nudge, and being like, hey, I can make that introduction for you. It doesn't have to just be like, hey, show up at ICT Dealmakers, although that's a great option. There's a lot of great options to get involved and help build the sort of global network that we have in this town that'll help better deals happen. So, and happen more often.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I was like, why do I care so much about this? Because I didn't grow up here, but this town has become my home. And like, although it took some extra work of like figuring out where to tap the aquifer, I think once I did, it like my world has opened up. And I think that this town has given so much, and like I have no plans to leave, and I really want to invest in this community and build my business here. And so similar to you, like I want this to be a good, thriving place to live. And I also I know that a lot of people are one connection away from something amazing happening for them and for their business. I've seen that happen. And I think community is the way that happens. And so I'm just passionate about connections. And so I think what I would say is go first. People expect connections to be made for them. There's not a lot of people willing to go first, think through their network, think through who people need to know, and not just wait for someone to ask you, like, oh, I need to know a lawyer. That does happen. But there's a proactive approach to connections, which is if you talk to someone for more than 5 minutes, you should be thinking about who they need to know. Mm-hmm. And it could be a doctor. It could be the next deal that they do. Like it's kind of everything in between. But be proactive and go first, and don't just think that connections are going to be made for you, which I think they will. Everything comes around full circle. But my advice would just be go first and come to some of our events.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm born and raised here. So it's the time in Kansas City, and I'm back here and going to be here for the rest of my life. And my family's businesses are here. My businesses are here. My kids are here. Like, I want to see this community thrive. And I think people always say like, oh, Wichita already had its heyday. I disagree with that. I think our heyday is on its way. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think actually 2026 is going to be a very key pivotal year for Wichita. There's a lot of things that are happening with some political things, but then also some just community things that are happening too. And I'm just really excited. I mean, that's why I care about this, is because, I'll be honest, I want to look back one day and say, we had a part of that. We had a part of doing something and creating something amazing. And we saw a lot of things come from it. It's like the 1 + 1 = 3. And I want to say, 1 + 1 = 5. I'd love to look back and see that with work that we're doing. And kind of to Alyssa's point is, I think so many people will get into a meeting, take a coffee meeting, whatever, because that's what Wichita does, is they'll meet for coffee. But they sit there and listen, and they'll say, in their mind, they know they need to connect them with somebody. They may say, oh yeah, you should talk to Sam or Alyssa, or, they say a couple names, but then they just walk away from the meeting and don't do anything about it. Like, take the extra time and make that connection for that person. Right. An email takes 5 minutes, if that, and be able to introduce two people, because like what you said, Alyssa, they may be one connection away from their company flourishing or something. And you want to, and even it's not your connection, that person you're connecting to may do that for them too as well. And I just think that's where, I learned that from a mentor of mine, was like, don't hold your Rolodex back from people. Like, be able to be an open book with people to allow them to be connected, but to go the extra mile and make sure you make those connections for people. Because again, you're meeting with somebody in your head, you're wrapping through like all the people they need to be thinking about and meeting with. And it's like, set up the introduction, set up the connection for them, because it's going to help them in one way, shape, or form. So, I mean, that's what I think is don't hold back on that and make that connection for people. Go that extra mile for it.
Think good, do good.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us. Alyssa, thanks. You've been such a big part of getting that group going and making it happen. And Jacob, you have been too.
Alyssa created the website.
Alyssa did create the website. I feel like at this point I'm just riding on y'all's coattails. So thank you for letting me hang around and be the least
takes a village.
Least productive. And every village has an idiot, and that's why I'm here. But no, thank you all for listening in or watching our podcast. The work that you're doing out there to make our community a better place, whether it's in Wichita or beyond, is really important. Leading your family as well, leading your business as well. It all makes a huge difference. We hope you got some value out of this, because we know that when great deals happen, communities thrive, and the work that you're doing really makes a difference. So keep up the good work and have a great deal. Thank you for joining us today. For future episodes, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And please check out our website at www.goforemanlaw.com/learning.